Hello and welcome to the Stubzcast, the content creator podcast, where I speak to content creators and have a conversation about their journey through content creation, whether it be videoing, vlogging, blogging based content, and hopefully listeners learn along the way something new. Welcome Ainsley from Season Gaming. How are you doing?
Good evening, man. Doing really well. How are you?
Good to hear. I'm doing good. Cheers. Yeah, it's Sunday after. 10 p.m. here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's later for you. Yeah, Sunday afternoon here.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Cool. Have you been playing much gaming recently?
Yeah, a lot. So I usually don't have a whole lot of time because between my career and everything going on with Season Gaming, it's just and family. You're right. Time's limited. But over the holidays, I had a lot of time off my full-time job, which was nice. So yeah, played the hell out of Cyberpunk. I've written and talked a lot about that game, and right now I'm playing a lot of Yakuza Like a Dragon. So
VJ talks about that. One of my co-hosts on my other show, he talks about Yakuza all the time. He's a big fan of the franchise. He is.
Yes, same with my co-host. So Dan, who many people know, right, loves it, and he recommended this and did the review for our site. So I was like, all right, I haven't been able to get into the other Yakuzas previously, but this one sucked me in, man. I'm really enjoying it. It's good.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, I haven't read your Cyberpunk review. It's only because I didn't know if it was spoiler based. I didn't know if to read it or not. You see?
Yeah, no. All of our reviews are non-spoiler. So when I edit them,
I would have read it.
We do a lot of work to make sure that we don't ruin anything for anyone.
Well,
so
a lot of the big sites love to ruin stuff for people.
Of course,
get them clicks.
Yeah, as anyone who follows me know, we're not about the clicks in that same regard.
I know that. Yeah. Right, let's start from the beginning. So when did you get into gaming, as so to speak? What is your gaming history?
Yeah, so goes back a ways, right? That's why we're Season Gaming. So, so I was born late 70s. Started gaming. My first kind of memory is when I was 4, playing the Atari 2600.
Wow, nice memory, mate. Nice memory.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can remember being at 4. I don't know, but I got going, that is.
Yeah, I can vividly remember it. In fact, the games, I used to play all the time were Yar's Revenge and Adventure and Pitfall. Okay. Like those 3 were just my games. And so started, kind of there on the Atari. And then the big thing for me was so my parents separated, ended up being with my mom, who we didn't have any money. So I didn't have any gaming systems or anything when I was younger. And at that, very young. And then when 85 hit here in the US and NES launched, I went over to a friend's house and he happened to have it. And I hadn't even heard of it, as a kid. You don't know.
Yeah.
And we played Super Mario Brothers all night long. It just was like mind-blowing to me. It was a revolution. And from that point on, I was bugging my mom. We couldn't afford to get a Nintendo. So from that point on, kind of bugged her all the time to go over to Frank's house, who had the Nintendo, so I could play it with him.
Cool.
But then, that was the beginning. And then the next year, my mom's kind of saved up and treated me, and she got me a Sega Master System. And so that was my first, the first console I owned personally. And that's how I became a Sega kid, and kind of Master.
Nice Sega.
Yeah. Sega Genesis.
You're winning my books now.
Yeah. So Genesis was huge for me. Mega Drive for you guys, of course.
Yeah, it's actually sat next to me. My wife recently got me one for my birthday, the Mark 1, because I told her if I ever wanted one, you know how they re-released the consoles, didn't they, to make money?
Yes.
With them all booted in, you know, packing.
Yes,
You get like 70 games. I said, no, if I ever want one, I want the original one so you can put the cartridges in. But she got older ones, she did.
That's awesome.
It's cool.
She's a keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ever since then, honestly, so that was what 89 was Genesis here in the US. So I was 10 or 11, and my whole life since then. So I'm in my early 40s, and I've been, you know, in my bio on Season Gaming, I kind of put that I've been involved and around more gaming things than I think most people realize. So, you know, I've owned almost every normal console you can name outside of some obscure ones. I had a, you know, I was part of a Neogeo collectors group on the East Coast of the United States. I ran a international game kind of trade group on eBay when eBay first launched, you know, back when you used to send money orders to one another blindly.
I don't remember that one, but
okay. Yeah, that's going way back. So, I mean, you know, I was in the tournament scene for a while, played Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Halo at tournament level when I was younger. And just
good then. You were definitely good.
I used to be. Yeah. I'm not bad nowadays, but nowhere near what I used to be. Yeah, I've just, you know, I've been involved in the thick of it for my whole life. And it's always been something really special to me. Gaming culture, I think, is special in a way. I think, you know, we could go on a long rant about the differences between today and back then, but it's just always been something special to me. It brings people together, no matter where you're from, what you look like, anything else. And I've always loved that about it. It's just the camaraderie around gaming, which excites me.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, well, gaming. Well, recently it's like the community game nights. I've noticed that they're really popular now, and it does feel like back in the day when you were playing with your mates, but it's over the internet, you know.
Yeah.
There's been a resurgence in the community with playing. See, I know I'm not a big. You may not like this. I've seen Bitcast. I've seen your love for Halo. I'm more of a Gears guy, you see.
Oh, I'm a Gears fanatic too. So,
but the Halo online, the Master Collection, that is a hell of a lot of fun with friends.
Yes,
you know,
100%.
I've still got a complete Halo. I'm right at the end of Halo 1. You know, you got to escape the ring, ain't you?
Yeah.
In your bloody vehicle.
In your Warthog, yeah.
I've got to give it. I've tried over 65 times.
Oh, you've never finished the end of Halo?
No. It's annoying me, and people have offered to co-op me with someone sitting in the thing, but I feel like I'm cheating. I will do it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I will get there because I want to have that thing where I roll through the Halo campaigns. I want it. I want that. You know what I mean? But obviously, I'll never get that magic like when you first played Halo. I was more of a Gears person. You see?
Yeah. It's
good
funny.
To hear you like Gears as well.
Oh, diehard Gears. Yeah, I would say, I mean, if Halo's number one for me, Gears number two. There's literally, I'm surrounded by Gears and Halo stuff in my game room here. But Halo, in fact, we were just talking the other day with some friends around, you know, the Halo now, it's nearly 20 years old, right, as an IP. Yeah. And it is, I think people getting into it now, or maybe the last 5 or 10 years, don't fully understand the impact that Halo had when it released. It was a revolutionary game in every sense of the word. It changed what first-person shooters were on consoles and brought them up to where it really set that kind of ground for everything that we've seen since, right? The Call of Duties, the Battlefields, etc. Yeah. And so that's why I appreciate it so much. Just a lot of nostalgia, playing tournaments in Halo 1 and 2, and the friends I've met and groups I've encountered. That's why it means so much to me. Yeah.
Oh no, I spoke to loads of people. I've looked it up. I do know what Halo did, but it's the same. It's same in essence of what Gears, the work Gears set. It was actually groundbreaking at the time, you know.
Yes, it was,
because Gears 1 was, a lot of people don't realise this was actually the selling point of the Unreal Engine that made it explode.
It was. You're right. You know, it was also the kind of foray into HD gaming on consoles, right? It was the 720p showcase at the time. Nothing looked like Gears. And it also, you know, as you well know, if you're a big Gears fan, you know, especially once Gears 2 hit and multiplayer got more and more popular, a big community developed around Gears. And I've been fortunate enough to play with a lot of those people. I used to hang out with the Gears. She was the community manager at Epic Games back before Microsoft bought it. And
you must have been shit hot though. To be fair, you must have been at the game.
Must have been what? I'm sorry.
You must have been really good at Gears, though.
At Gears, I was at one point. Yeah, again, not anymore as good as I was, but I used to be quite good at Gears too. Yeah, I've always been a competitive person. It's in my blood, man. I don't like to lose. So, I will, if I like something, I will work at it until I'm good at it, and that's just my nature.
Oh, good to hear. There's a few. I just want to give you a few shout outs because there's quite a few people that came in. Welcome, Matt Barnes. Welcome, Shizno Elite. Welcome, Mishuku. Welcome, Xbox Expansion Pass. So that will be Insipid Ghost. Thanks for stopping by. The Indie Gamer. Thanks for stopping by. Assassin Looper. We've got any more? Judzilla. Dazanator, aka UK Dazarus. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, to come back up. There's quite a few came in. That's it for the time being. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. If you could drop a like and share it out. And Leo's stopped by. Thanks for stopping by.
It's Leo's birthday. Happy birthday, Leo.
Happy birthday, Leo. Happy birthday. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a couple of beers. And welcome, Mr. Tucci. Thanks for stopping by, my midweek gaming co-host. So, yes. No. So over the from now to basically from back when you started gaming, what would you say your most favorite gaming system was if you were to say pick a retro one?
Yeah, it's it's nowadays because there's so many and I've owned so many. It's hard to pick one, so I'll give you a couple of exampbles because I often think about this. First that comes to mind would be Genesis or Mega Drive.
Good to it.
Sega Master System didn't have the impact because of just the NES was everywhere, right? And no, I love my Sega Master System. It's what got me into gaming the same way. Genesis is where they really took off, especially in the US here. And I had a lot of friends. All my friends growing up, we would just play Genesis all day. And so Genesis would probably be up there for sure. Followed by probably the Super Nintendo, which came a few years later. But Super Nintendo is incredible. That blew my mind as well. And that's why I really adore the 16-bit era. I just love those systems. And then I would also shout out two more, probably Neogeo, which I know was ridiculously expensive. And so I always was I was one of those kids like all of us, I'm sure, that kind of looked at it and adored it, but could never afford it, of course. But when I got into my, early 20s, like I said, I became part of this Neogeo collectors group and kind of built my own and got my own and cartridges and collection. And it was a really fun time of my life from a gaming perspective because those games are incredible. It's Neo Geo is like the pinnacle of old sprite-based games. They're just so good. And then lastly, I'd say the Xbox 360. So
very good pick.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 is again, it's one of those systems that I think for the mainstream doesn't get enough credit for how much it changed the industry.
It did.
Yeah, 100%. It people don't realize, between the growth of Xbox Live, it was the first storefront, the first app store, first for party chat, first for achievements, all these things that are just standardized today across the PlayStation and Xbox ecosystems were done by the Xbox team with 360 and that live team. And that's, I've always loved it for that.
Oh, it is they made. I mean, obviously, it's the first console to bring online gaming. It doesn't get credit for it because I heard a lot of people say it's Xbox. I said that's not. It's the bloody Dreamcast.
Dreamcast, yeah, it was in the console space for sure. I mean, Genesis had that. You remember SegaNet, right? And
because it was Dreadpool that told me. I went, "No, you're kidding." He says, "No, he showed me.
Yeah,
he did have it." I was like, "I didn't know that."
Yeah, I had a friend who had it as well, and you had not only SegaNet, but you had what was called the Sega Channel, which was going back 25 years now, mid 90s. It was the ancient equivalent of Game Pass. It was like you subscribe to a
okay.
channel and then you could connect and like, kind of have access to content. I mean, primitive nowadays, but Sega was really forward thinking in that regard, and Dreamcast was kind of the culmination of that. But I mean, when the original Xbox came and it had the broadband port, right? And it kind of really pushed. When Xbox Live came out in 2002, I was actually a beta tester for Xbox Live in 2001.
Nice.
I still have my shirt.
Was that hard to get into, or was it did you just have to apply? Or
You had to be apply and picked. So it wasn't like ultra limited, but at the same time, it wasn't tons of people, but I still have my shirt. I still have my kit, I have everything from it.
Yeah.
But when Xbox Live landed and again, I can talk about Halo, but when Halo 2 hit on Xbox Live, that was like a big revolution for console gaming too.
It was. I mean, I've seen all the. This is what you miss nowadays, because obviously with digital era, I've seen online YouTube videos of, the big launches in the big cities, and the hypes there's hundreds and hundreds of people waiting outside for Halo 2.
Yes.
There was. Yes. You don't get that now, do you?
No, with physical, with digital, everyone wants to just play it as soon as it goes live at home, and there's a lot of
there's workarounds now. You can actually pretend on Xbox you're in another country to get it to unlock early. You can as well.
Yes, I think all of us, Cyberpunk or those big games, we all live in New Zealand for a day,
Exactly. Yeah.
But I do miss that. I miss midnight launches. I've gone to tons of them. I was at a Halo 3 launch party, where tons of us lined up to get our legendary editions and helmets. And, the coolest thing about the Halo 3 launch was 2007. So you got home and you logged into Halo 3, and Halo 3 had a world map on its on its multiplayer screen. And as the game launched across the world, you could actually see people logging in, like the lighting up just across the world. It was such a fun thing to be a part of.
Nice. Yeah. But sadly, this year, all the Halo servers for the 360 had all been shut down this year, haven't they?
Yeah, all the classic servers. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much now you're on Master Chief Collection if you want to play the old school Halo. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you are. Yeah, but you have. I mean, it begs to another question. Does that coincide when they're going to come? How much longer have the 360 servers got left? Do you know what I mean? Because it says Halo, it doesn't say the entire, shutdown like the old Gears servers. It doesn't say, does it? But it's got to be connected, surely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, all of that runs on the kind of backbone that they've built. But I mean, there's different iterations of that software and how it runs, right, on the Microsoft servers, the Azure network. So, I don't know, honestly. I love studying that, but I don't have the answer to that one. It'll be interesting to see, I guess, when those kind of, as they get older and older, what the timelines are for those.
Well, exactly. I mean, Halo's got a massive collection. I will get it in there. Do you think there should be a Marcus Phoenix collection?
Yes.
And basically just what Halo Master Chief Collection is, but the Gears version.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, Gears 1. I mean, the trilogy is special. It really is. And I would love, especially, look at the work the Coalition's doing, right?
Very good studio now, especially, I mean, I didn't realize their full potential until this Hivebusters DLC. It's like they've unlocked they're unlocking the true potential of the studio. They are, because in my opinion, that Hivebusters is better than the Gears 5 campaign. You know what I mean? But
I'm seeing a lot of people that share that. I haven't finished it yet. I have started it. Obviously, it's stunningly gorgeous, and they're doing a ton of amazing work on the hardware side. And they're just really familiar with Unreal Engine and know how to get the best out of it. But yeah, I really hope, I see the petitions and the polls and people calling for it. So I have to imagine at some point they will pay homage to the original trilogy.
Well, if they want to prove to the Xbox base that Gears is really one of their staples, because Xbox has only got Halo, Gears, and Forza. You know what I mean? So they want to actually make one, because it would help them. You know what I mean? It would say I already think they should have one. Because obviously I spoke to I had a few just over Christmas. I had one of the guys that actually suggested it. SAS Shadows from the UK. He's a big Gears YouTuber.
Okay.
And Raw. And he's seen the tweet on what sparked it off with this campaign to get the Phoenix Collection going was he's seen the tweet from Halo saying that the Series X had been revamped, and upgraded for the Halo Master Chief Collection had been upgraded for the Series X, and he quote tweeted it saying, "We need this, but for the basically an equivalent version for Gears." And Guy Ritchie from Xbox marketing, the Gears, he put "get it trending," and obviously it never trended because it's really hard to get something to trend.
Sure. And
there's over 2,000 people that signed the petition. Did loads of work into getting and people tagging, certain people in tweets that they know they have to live under a rock. That people don't want. That people want it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. It's a case of whether they do number 6 and then do this. You know what I mean? Because it's no illusion. Gears are actually working on the coalition are working on multiple projects.
Yes,
I've seen statements for them, and before anyone says it's all Gears multiple projects, because when you read statements from the studio, it insinuates they are all Gears related. Because I know everyone is dreaming. Everyone keeps saying they need to work on a new IP, and from all the evidence I can see, they ain't. And they have no intentions of, because they reckon there's that much passion behind the Gears franchise. They said there's that many different directions they can take it that they're quite happy with it. It was their choice to become a Gears studio. They weren't forced into it,
Correct. Yep. Very true.
But yeah, hopefully we get there. Sorry about that. I go off on tangents when
no, it's fine.
Gears comes up.
I don't mind at all.
Yeah, there's UK Dazarus going, Stubz, he can't go one show without mentioning Gears. No, he's right. A few more came in. Who else we got? I just got this, I'm sure. Welcome, Cerebral Paul. Thanks for stopping by. Another midweek gaming co-host. As of this year, he's a new member. Who else? Welcome, Infinite. Thanks for stopping by. Anymore. That's it for now. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. And welcome, Michael Monkey Punch. So, what do you say? You've obviously mentioned Halo's one of your favourites and Gears. But if you was to give us a couple of your actual, if you were to say current and retro, what would you say some of your favourite games are?
Yeah. So outside of Halo and Gears, I put BioShock up there. Big BioShock fan, especially the first one. I think that's a legendary game, one of my favorites of all time for sure. The original Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time. I think that did things for kind of narrative and storytelling that just really moved me emotionally. And, I think hadn't really been done to that level before. I'm not going to get on Last of Us 2 because that is it's a whole nother topic.
I had a PS4. I used to have a PS4 for quite a few years because 2013, I bought an Xbox One, didn't like it. I got rid of it. And all my mates got a PS4. Sure. I did complete The Last of Us 1. However, not going to spoil it out, but obviously people know. That opening scene with that girl, what happened, that made me tear up.
Yep.
I didn't complete the game, but I'm just saying, games don't normally do that to me. So they've done something right.
Yeah, and the ending to that game kind of is a full circle experience to the beginning of the game. And I could talk about Last of Us forever. In fact, a couple years, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I wrote a very long retrospective, kind of introspective on Last of Us. And Bert and I, who used to kind of do things at Season Gaming with us, we did a very in-depth video on called Examining the Classics on Last of Us, like a 14-minute long. It's filled with spoilers, so certainly don't watch it if you don't want any spoilers. But really examining kind of the story, the writing, what it means, and just incredible game. top to
Oh,
bottom.
people love that stuff. It's like getting deep in. Was it like getting deep in?
Yes.
I don't know if Last of Us has lore, but getting really deep into
No,
it.
not really lore. More about the characters and the meaning behind things, because there's a lot of unwritten things that occur in that game that are kind of alluded to, but not put in your face. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think what else. So Witcher 3, and the two games that you'll hear me preach about. Anyone who's watched our shows or content knows I preach about Witcher 3 and Red Dead 2. Both of those games, I love open world games. I love games where you feel like a sense of escapism, where you can go to that world and kind of be part of it, and it feels like a living, breathing thing, separate from anything else. And I think Witcher 3 and Red Dead 2 are some of the primest examples of that. And so I know Witcher 3 is highly acclaimed, one of the most celebrated games of all time. Red Dead as well, but I know there's some detractors for Red Dead 2 just because of a little slowness and whatnot. But that experience in that world is just nothing short of incredible.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, obviously, I'm one of these people. I do own Witcher 3. I haven't completed it. This is going to be my year to try and complete some games. As any gamer will tell you, I'm bloody terrible. I move on, but I recently completed Inside, and he's very proud of me.
Great game.
It's
an experience in itself. It's a short one, but a fantastic one. Yeah,
it's a very open to interpretation experience.
It is.
I was told about a second after completed it. You told me about a second ending that I had to get done.
Yeah, that's a good one too. You want to do that?
I've done it.
Yeah. Okay.
But and then I'm going to try and move on to a game where the chat will light up in a minute. I'm going to try and move on to this little game called Hollow Knight.
Don't get indie started.
Matuku in the chat's just started playing it as well. He has.
Okay.
Then I know that came up yesterday on the Bitcast.
Yeah.
I knew it would have to come up.
So I haven't finished Hollow Knight, on that sense, but I do have some significant time into it. Really well designed game, really well designed. I'm a big, just being older, I'm a big fan of 2D platformers and things of that nature, just 2D games in general. And the combination of kind of the 2D mixed with the kind of Metroidvania, for lack of a better word, concepts combined with almost like some Souls combat or concepts as well is really intriguing to me. So yeah, it's really a fun game.
Yeah, that's obviously big. It's a goal for this year to try and get that complete. But
you can put a lot of time into that one. It's longer than people think.
Indy put over 100 hours or more, and I do know that he's quite proud of that. He is. But no, so I'll get on the case there. So got any more favourite games? But you covered quite a few there. You have really,
Yeah. I'd say those are probably the ones you'll hear me talk about the most. If we've already covered, as IPs, Gears and Halo are always way up there. Individual games, Witcher, BioShock, Last of Us, Red Dead. Those are probably the key ones. There's plenty more I could talk about, of course, but those are my top tier.
Okay, fair enough. Apparently, if I complete Hollow Knight, he will have my respect forever. That's if I don't use a guide indie to help me. So what would you say? Well, this might be a bit of a weird question. What's your favourite controller? Obviously, if you're going back through time to pick a retro and a new one,
Yeah. So I think my opinion is if you remove durability concerns, the Elite 2 is the best controller.
Okay.
It's just, it's I don't know. For me, it's almost perfect. Just in functionality, kind of ergonomics and everything else that goes along with it. Thumbsticks. I'm being a kind of an ex-competitive gamer, I'm really picky about thumbsticks. You'll hear me, I've done reviews of controllers where I'll spend paragraphs talking about thumbstick design. And I kind of hold my thumb kind of weird, when I play. So the ability to have kind of concave and different heights on the Elite is big to me. Going back, that's a funny question. I would probably have to say Super Nintendo. I don't know.
Okay.
Super Nintendo. So Genesis obviously went with the 3-button, and they later came out with the 6-button, as an add-on. But
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, if you recall, right, they're the first to have the modern kind of 4-button arrangement on the face buttons, and they also had the bumpers. Remember, which was the first in both cases, first mainstream anyway. So if I had to pick one, I think when that came out, it kind of changed things, because for those that grew up on the original Mario Kart, F-Zero, those kind of racing games, I'll shout out Rock and Roll Racing, a classic. But those bumpers really came in handy, right? It was the first time that you could kind of have a button outside of your face buttons that, kind of adjusted your left or right movement. That's probably what I'd say.
Oh, yeah, very, very good picks. Elite. I've never owned Elite. Now, so the thing I used to play years ago, obviously I play Call of Duty, and I used to watch the pros. When Call of Duty used to be really big in multiplayer, it still sells well.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that the multiplayer side isn't as big as it once was. It's died off a bit, and Scuff was always king. Now, when I learned that Xbox is bringing out their own version, I laughed and I thought, no bloody chance. No. But it looks like, from what I can see from the general consensus, that Xbox have beat them, and full on. But it's not a controller I could actually afford. I don't think I could convince my wife to get me £150 controller somehow.
They are pricey, yeah.
You know what I mean? But obviously they're worth it to you if they are that good.
Yeah, the design. I mean, the first one had a lot of durability concerns. The second one has some. I think it's less. But I mean, if it depends how you play too. A lot of people that play for hours a day and they're rough on their controller, they're only it's only going to be so much, right? I actually, funny you mentioned Scuff, because I do have the Scuff. I forget the name of it, but for the PS4, I had the top Scuff controller as well, which I did a full review on and video, and I really liked it at the time. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick between that and the Elite, I'm going to take the Elite all day.
Well, that's good to hear. It shows that Xbox made the product that worked and beat it. Obviously, to get on the esports level, they've got to offer esports big money to get in there and make sure they use Xbox controllers. It's not going to happen, I don't think. They just generally stick with like the traditional Scuff and companies like that. They do,
yeah.
Because obviously Scuff they can use PlayStation or Xbox, can't they?
And they're fully customizable too, right?
Exactly.
So a lot of people that play, like my stepson actually plays some competitive games, Siege, and he actually plays For Honor and a bunch of others, but he has a kind of an interesting controller with some custom paddles and thumbsticks, and so.
Yeah, it's like I thought the new Xbox Series X and S controllers going to be no different, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Fantastic.
I actually replaced mine. I've got an Xbox One upstairs as well. I've got my Series X downstairs, and I actually bought another Series X controller for the Xbox One because I didn't like the feeling of the old Xbox One controller. I can't explain it. It's just a lot better. I'm not one of these tech guys. It just plays and feels a lot better.
It does. It's like it's incremental improvements, right? It's slightly smaller. The thumbsticks are slightly different. It's just there's a lot of little things that add up to a better feeling controller for 100%.
I had to laugh though because the Elite controller, it does. That little D-pad. That little D-pad looks like the Elite.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So some stupid people on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, said that the YouTubers that got all the consoles, Xbox chucked in an Elite controller, and I think they misinterpreted the look of the controller with the D-pad. It's the same as the Elite, and they go, well, they had Elite controllers thrown in with it, and they weren't. It kind of looks like it. Do you see what I mean? They've misinterpreted it wrong.
Yeah, it does look very familiar. You can tell they took from that design. It's a little more the angles are a little sharper, and it's definitely really clicky on the new controller, which I like. Some people do. Yeah, I like it. I actually did a stream last week, or right at the end of the new year. I did a stream where I played through Cuphead beginning to end in one stream. And the controller I use for that, on 2D games, I always use a D-pad. I don't play them with thumbsticks. And the controller I used for that was the Series X controller because that D-pad is really good.
Wow, you are a very good gamer, Ainsley. I don't know many people that have actually said they've completed Cuphead.
So Cuphead is probably one of those other new games that's up on my list. I adore that game. Anyone who knows me know I talk about it all the time. So I've 100% of that game. I've beat on expert. I've beat all the levels without dying.
Wow.
But then I did an extra live stream to raise money for charity before New Year's. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let me start from the beginning. I hadn't played it in about 2 years. Let me start from the beginning and see if I can beat the whole game on one stream. And I did. It was a lot of fun.
Wow, I do know it's a lot of people. If people have a love-hate relationship with it,
yes.
They love how beautiful it is, but I can't complete it. I haven't got it. I haven't. It put me off, but maybe I should try it at some point.
It's one of those games.
Rage a bit though.
Yeah, it depends, right? Because I can understand people like me who are old guys like me and grew up in that era of 2D kind of shmups and bullet hell games. That's what it's designed after, right? So if you grew up loving those 2D games where you're dodging stuff all the time and just really quick reflexes, it's a brilliant game. But for people who are only played 3D games or what I would say more modern games, that game can be very, very challenging.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. I can, because it's one of them games. Well, based on that, you must be good at games like Dark Souls then.
Yeah. So I actually just completed for the second time Dark Souls 3 with all the expansions on stream like 2 months ago.
You are seriously hardcore, mate. You really are.
I love challenges. Like, remember I said I'm really competitive.
Yes,
I love challenges, and I put myself forth to overcome challenges. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. That is. Yeah. So obviously you keep referencing. I'm saying it. You keep saying how old you are, even though you don't look it. You don't. Did you have much experience and fun in the arcades back in your day?
Oh, big time. Yeah, we could talk about it. We could do a whole separate show on arcades. So I grew up. I started in the arcades so young that I used to get the stool. You had to get those step stools so you could reach the thing. So my mom and dad would pull those up for me, and by the time I was about let's see, when did Return of the Jedi come out? 84? What's that?
Oh, I'm going to tell you something now, Ains.
Yeah.
I was born that year.
Okay. All right. So 84. Well, my point was there was a Return of the Jedi video game for those that remember it in the arcade. Okay. Yeah. And my mom used to pull up a stool, and I would just sit there and just beat it over and over again, like beginning to end. So your quarter wouldn't end. And then I got really, really big into Street Fighter when that, Street Fighter 2, when that rage kind of hit. Oh, and Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2 were probably the peak of the arcade here, especially in the US. I mean, it was huge. I used to be in there every day. And like I said, I did tournaments for Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and Street Fighter 2. And like I said, we could talk about arcades all day, but it's definitely a big part of my history.
You get on well with Lord Cognito then?
Oh, yes. Yes. Him and I talk. When we start talking about gaming, we never want to stop. Yeah, we have very similar paths and appreciation for that era.
You do seem like it. I had him on at the end of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny enough, not to plug anything, but him and I are sitting down on Tuesday. You can plug
what you like, mate. You can.
Sorry? I didn't hear
you. can plug whatever you want. Don't worry about it.
So him and I are actually sitting down on Tuesday, just the two of us, to have a conversation that's going to be published this week. Yeah.
That sounds very good, that does.
Yeah.
What is it, a video? Is it video live stream or?
It's good to just be a video. So we're recording it off live, but it'll be published probably Wednesday or Thursday. But him and I, we met, we obviously met online through the outlets, and I was fortunate enough to meet those guys in person at E3 in 2019, I guess it was, a year and a half ago now. And I met, hung out with Cog and King and all those guys from the Lords and a bunch of other people, all the Xbox community. I mean, I've met them all and hung out with them all. But him and I just really kind of hit it off just because, we similar backgrounds. Yeah.
No, that sounds really good. I'm looking forward to that video. I'll definitely be giving that a watch, definitely.
Thanks.
But no, yeah, I'd imagine it's really good to go to E3,
It was, yeah. In fact, one of the biggest disappointments for me personally, obviously, there's way more bigger things that occurred in 2020, that were kind of horrible across the world. But, our plans for E3 this past year were huge. We had a double-story attached house reserved. We had cars reserved.
Oh, really?
We had
Wow.
14 people that were going to be staying together and creating content. So it was going to be me, the Lords, Boomstick, Brap. We were all going to be together and
Powerhouse.
in one house. Yeah, it was a party
Yeah.
house basically. And I had my
Yeah.
media access already for E3. I was already approved, and I was so excited for this trip. I mean, everything was booked and ready to go. And then obviously the pandemic hit and kind of canceled it all. So we hope to do it again in the future, whenever we can.
Well, hopefully. Hopefully we get back to that way of life, hopefully.
Yes.
Well, the only way I think they could do E3 in this world is if they basically done E3 like they used to and cut it off for people that basically, if you like people like you that have got the credentials and cut it off to the public.
Yeah.
And have it obviously social distance or bubbled, and they could do it,
Yeah.
But as big as it is with all the visitors they have, they wouldn't be able to do it at the moment, would they?
No, not even close. It is. I mean, LA, it's in the heart of LA, right? Which is already a very populated area and very busy. And then when you add all tens and tens of thousands of people that come in, it's shoulder to shoulder at some points in the convention halls. But yeah, there's no way. I mean, there's just no way it could happen today. So we'll see.
Hopefully in the future, U-turns, But yeah, it sounded like you had big plans and it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Next year, maybe.
Yeah, next year, maybe, definitely. Yeah. Indie Game just saying in chat that he had his hotels, etc., booked, tickets booked, or ready to go for, I think it was EGX.
EGX.
Yeah, in the UK, obviously.
Yeah, big one.
He had all the kit ready. He was going to try and get developer interviews and all sorts, and obviously it didn't happen.
It takes a lot of work. My first E3 was 2018 when I went, but 2019 when we went, we were media by that point, and so just booking appointments and trying to meet with devs and do videos and interviews and go to conferences. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done, especially for a geek like me who loves this stuff. But it's a lot of work. I mean, I have a picture of from E3 2018 where Bert and I had been out for like 16 hours that day, and it was about 4 a.m. in the hotel, and we were literally sitting next to each other trying to like work on content, editing videos and writing, and we just looked like we had been hit by trucks. And I'm like, it's a very tiring week.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. You spend half your day sweating your ass off, don't you?
Yes, and walking. So you're moving and sweating and all day long. And then, obviously when you're in the hall or talking to people, whatever, you can't create content. So you have to do that when you get home, but you have to leave again the next morning. So your only option really is to work whenever you get back to the hotel. So yeah, most of the nights we are getting maybe 2 to 4 hours sleep.
Fair enough. It's the grind. It is.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Welcome, Dragon Wolf. Thanks for stopping by.
And Dragon Wolf, yes, that is the Sideshow Master Chief behind me. Yes.
That's cool. It does look good. That does.
That's an older one now. I've had that for several years. Yeah.
That's good. So, what makes a good game to you? Does it have to be the label of AAA, or does any game matter to you? Do you like this labeling of indie, AAA, AA? You know what I mean? It's a bit of a stigma there is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Because so to answer your first question, what makes a good game? That's actually a tough question. It can be a number of things, and I would say The reason I would say it can be a number of things is I'm thinking through the games I love most and what makes them special to me. And so I think, if I look at something like Cuphead that I was just talking about, what makes that game special is the mechanics. The mechanics are flawless, meaning that every frame of your character is animated and designed in a way with all the other stuff going on in the screen, and the fluidity of how that functions in your hand, the connection between me and what's happening on the screen is flawless.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's one aspect. But then you could say, well, what's the story in Cuphead? And obviously there's next to none. It's just a funny kind of like, kids comic book story. Then I could look at a game like Last of Us, which I just spoke to. And I would say the mechanics in that are not necessarily the best. Combat is, it's okay. It's nothing special. I wouldn't play that game for the combat. But the story and the writing and the characters are some of the best ever developed. So, it can be, I think it can be a number of things. It depends on what the game's looking to achieve is probably what I would say. So, really depends on what that developer kind of aspiration is or what they're trying to achieve. But it can be a number of things. I look at a game as, okay, what is this game presenting to me? When I look at what else we talk about, BioShock, right? Yeah. Look at BioShock. Okay, what is that game presenting to me? It's presenting mystery. It's presenting an environment that's supposed to feel like something that actually exists in reality. And it's presenting memorable characters, right? And then I would say, okay, me playing through that, does it achieve those things? When I look at Rapture as a city, does that city feel real? When I think of Ryan and, the people within that, within the story, are they believable? Are they well written, well acted? And so when it hits all those high points of what they're trying to go for, I think that's when a game succeeds, in my opinion.
Yeah, very good points you have.
Indie versus AAA. No, absolutely. A game doesn't have to be AAA. I adore all games. And again, I think that's due to just being around it for a long time. I mean, I've literally, when I was younger, would play the text games where there's no graphics. It's
okay.
You walk into a room, there's a door in front of you. Do you go through and you type yes, and there's a door on your left, a door on your right. Which direction do you go? I think even those can be intriguing if they're well written, right? But no, so I don't put labels on that. In fact, we did our first Season Gaming Awards this year where we awarded categories of games. And the one thing I wanted to shy away from was having an indie category, because my thought process is if a game like Hades, great example, and I know Indy, if he's still listening, is going to get happy I'm mentioning Hades.
He's loving the show. I'm sure you'll get a message in a minute on screen.
But Hades is technically an indie game, right? In the traditional model of what an indie game is. But it broke through that barrier of being perceived as just an indie game, right? It's on a lot of Game of the Year lists. It's one of the most celebrated games of the year. And I think no matter the size and scope, budget, whatever of a game, it can have an impact and be well designed enough to where it can be, it can break through that kind of perceived notion of, oh, this is just an indie game. I don't like that label in that way.
Oh, no, I perfectly agree with you. I mean, it's like one of my favorite games is when I indie recommended a game to me called What Remains of Edith Finch. I think that's bloody incredible. I mean, I know I love Gears, but story wise, I like that game more.
Perfect. That goes back to what I said, right? Mechanically, there's not a lot going on in that game, but what it does narratively and what it makes you think and feel is something completely different, and that's why it's so special.
Yeah, it's a good game. It is, but you are right, and I do like that way of thinking. Because obviously, I just wish more people would get that mindset that some people think that good games are only AAA bangers. What I mean?
It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, what can I point to? Avengers. I know a lot of people loved Avengers, but there's a lot of people who didn't, and a lot of people have big complaints with it. I mean, that's a big budget, long development AAA game with a well recognized IP, and yet from a game perspective, it has a lot of problems. So I mean, we see that all the time, right? We see big AAA games launch with budgets and developers and everything else, and they're really they don't do anything meaningful to the player base.
Yeah, you're right. It's, whereas the I'll say indie games because I don't know how to word it. Whereas they take risks and they've got the true freedom to break out and do something different, and that's what's good, And
I think that creative freedom, that's a great point. And I think funny enough, we touched on that yesterday. Indy and I did, because we were saying that that's one of the nice things about the developers that he focuses on with his channel, is that they do have more creative freedom. And, programs like ID at Xbox that kind of help that along. In fact, I could call out a Hyperdot, which is a game.
That's a very good game. I tried that and I like it.
Fantastic. Very simple, but also very challenging, which, I loved. I 1000'd it, of course.
Congratulations. I expect no less from you now.
It's that's one on Game Pass, really fun game. It was created by one guy, Charles McGregor, who I had the pleasure to interview. But that's a perfect example where there's no story, there's no narrative, there's none of that. But this is just, he took his vision of what a challenging kind of movement based, taking that movement based shmup mechanic and putting it on a 2D plane. And he created something really strong with it. I love to see that.
Yeah, we did a lot. I mean, a lot of people like that game, especially with it being whacked into Game Pass. Yeah. You've got no loss if you got Game Pass. You can try it. If you don't like it, you can move on.
Yeah, Game Pass is brilliant. Brilliant.
It is. So, content creation wise, did you have any experience in journalism or any education in that area pre season gaming?
So yes and no. I don't have any formal, I don't have a degree in journalism or anything of that nature. But I do have a long running career, successful career in a wealth of, I don't talk about specifics of my job, but
no, you're fine.
But I'm in I'm in application development. I've been in analysis and project management and leadership, and so I've been around the executive kind of career level for a while. And so just kind of secondarily, I've obviously had to write an awful lot, and a lot of important things I've had to write. And I've also been fortunate enough to been trained on a lot of technical things. So I know, server infrastructure, and I know coding, and, I've been around all these things, how projects come together and how many teams there are in testing. And so that's why, I really enjoy getting into the details of game development, because when people, we all know the outrage we see all the time. Well, why is this delayed? And that shouldn't take more than 2 weeks to fix. And
it's not that simple.
No, you just, when you're in the position or you're around things that are similar, it's very similar structure to what I do to game development, just from a project perspective. And so when I see things like that, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like, God, all you're doing is yelling your ignorance onto the internet. Because there's so much that goes on for these types of things. But that's where my background comes from. So, just that, fortunately for me, gave me the experience to be able to write what I would consider well. I don't think I'm a brilliant writer by any stretch of the imagination, but I can write well, and I, have decent grammar, and it allowed me, I still like written gaming information. Again, going back old school, everything today is kind of YouTube or Twitch or videos.
It's interesting because I'm obviously part of the BG4G hub site, and the one thing that surprised me, obviously, that obviously Mass Mayhem, one of the founders, he shared some analytics, and it's very impressive what the actual written articles actually get. We're talking about sometimes thousands of hits.
Yes.
And people read them, and it fascinated me. I thought that was a dead era, but it's big. It's big. Written content is still very much alive, which I thought it was YouTube and it's dead, but no, there's some big numbers on written based content still.
Fortunately, yeah, it can be. I mean, we all know, those of us who run channels or podcasts, etc. It's hard to get that foothold because there's so many people doing it now, and sites are no different. I've learned an awful lot running Seasoned Gaming over the past few years about just analytics and how you get things out there and SEO, and and it's very challenging. But there's something I really enjoy about a good article or a good review, that is well written with good grammar and organized and structured properly. And, people joke with me around, say like, we get a lot of compliments from some of our fan base, which I truly appreciate, but they're like, they say things about the way our reviews are structured or the way our articles are written. And it's not by mistake, right? It takes a lot of work.
Oh, no, it does. Yeah.
But a lot of work goes into that. I have people that really write well for the site, and, I edit kind of everything that goes out there and overlook it. And, it's difficult, but to me, it's worth it. There's just something I love about kind of the written word.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, because it's a thing I've learned obviously recently. I procrastinate. I am part of them, but I haven't wrote anything in a while. You see, I need to get more into writing.
And it's not easy, right? It takes time. Yeah.
But no, you've hit the nail on the head there. Analytics and SEO is a very difficult thing to actually master. It's not easy. And so especially for a website, you've got to nail it to get them hits,
That's correct. Yeah. And to try and walk that line of doing that, right, but staying away from clickbait has been a massive hurdle. So it's, I always tell people we could grow faster than we do, but it wouldn't be the right growth to me. And that's why when I set out to do this, I said right from the start, right back in 2015 when we started, I said that this is a non-monetized site with no ads, because I just know, just from experience with other things, right, that if we were going to go for clicks solely and try and generate ad revenue and all those things, it changes what you are writing and how you approach it. And I wanted a sense of purity to what we publish.
That's good to hear. So would you say that was partly the catalyst to start in Seasoned Gaming?
Part of it, yeah. I one of my other passions, which I never talk about on Twitter, is cars. I'm a big car guy. I grew up racing as well, and my dad raced cars. And so I've been on a lot of car forums, online forums in my, since I was younger. And I was moderating and adminning a relatively big one. And we had a gaming sub forum on this car forum. And it had just, an old friend of mine said to me one day, like, you're always talking about games and writing about games and you love gaming so much, and yet you're doing that on a car forum. Like, why? And I said, that's a good point. And so that's kind of how the idea germinated of just starting a blog, which is what Seasoned Gaming was originally, just a blog. And I never imagined it, growing to this kind of scale. But it was an idea of, I'm going to write about games the way I want to do it, and I'm not going to do it for money. I'm fortunate enough in my full-time career to, be able to fund this stuff myself. And so that was part of the reason, is I want to get back to what I considered good gaming journalism, not the, and I'll shout out, not the Kotakus of the world, not the ones that are, posting about batteries or, this controller is, these left thumbsticks are failing every day. People hate it, just garbage. It's absolute garbage, in my opinion. And I wanted to get back to kind of meaningful gaming talk.
Yeah, no, that is really good to hear, because a lot of the nonsense that the mainstream media do talk about, it's like a littlest thing. They make an art, littlest thing, like you say, like the thumbstick's out of place. 2 people have mentioned it on Twitter. Let's make an article out of it.
Yes. Yes, and that drives me crazy. We see it every day. We all of us know it and see it, and it just drives me crazy. And that's why you don't see. We don't necessarily post 15 articles a day, but that's because I'm not going to make up something to talk about just to talk about it. And I have the benefit of doing that, right? Because I'm not trying to generate revenue.
I agree with that.
So that's the kind of nice thing of it is we publish what we want to publish, and if it's actual reporting of news or it's actual opinion articles, what have you, reviews, then that's what we want to do. But yeah, it's not worth it to me to publish that other stuff.
No, that's good. I mean, at least the content that comes out when it does come out is quality.
That's the goal.
And one of your writers has dropped into the chat, Phasma. Welcome, Phasma.
Phaz is a great writer. She joined. We actually, I put a little image out on Season Gaming, I think last week, basically kind of looking back at 2020. And when I got into the new year and I took a step back and I looked at our stats and our analytics and articles, and I was really surprised. I mean, we saw some tremendous growth last year, and it's humbling. Because there has been kind of a community that's developed and rallied around us. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that when you join a lot of shows, as you guys know, especially the bigger ones, right? And you see the chat can get very argumentative. There's a lot of fanboys.
Annoying, that is.
Exactly. And one of the things I'm really proud of is when we tweet something or an article or a review or our videos, it's really feels like a positive community. And I love that. It means we're attracting the right people, right? But Phaz is one of the 6 contributors that joined us last year in 2020. It's been great. It's been great. So her most recent writing, which we gave her a lot of crap about, she did the review for Immortals, Phoenix Rising. And she took her time with it. We poke fun at her that it took a while, but it's a fantastic review and it got a lot of exposure. The several of the devs at Ubisoft Quebec commented on it and shared it, and it was great.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's got to be. Have you? That's his question. It's not a question I've written down. It's one I thought of. Have you, mate? When a game gets reviewed and you get all the big awards from all the big sites.
Yes.
Have you actually been able to get on one of them yet?
The what they call an accolades trailer. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
You'll get there. You will.
Yeah. I think we joked about that because one of the funniest things that happened late last year was Dan, my Bitcast co-host. He reviewed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and he gave it a 7, which a lot of us, kind of thought was low for the game, but that, he was well-written review, very, he felt strongly about it. So that's what we publish. I don't change anything. So we give him a lot of crap, but someone created a fake accolades trailer.
Okay.
Yeah. From Ubisoft with Dan's quotes and in it. And it was really funny, but I don't think that we've been on an official one yet.
No, I just wonder because sometimes the indie, if you pick an indie game, sometimes they make one and they can put you on. I just wondered, that was all.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll make once eventually.
I hope so. I did. So Phaz got fantastic feedback on the Immortals review. I did Cyberpunk. As I've joked, I'm a massive Cyberpunk, all about that game. And I did the review for that, and I've put over 150 hours into it now, and I did get feedback from a few of the kind of leads at CD Projekt Red, which was very, very nice. Kind of made my week last week.
Oh, but he would do. I mean, it's really nice that you and they've read it. You know what I mean? It just shows it must have a department that go and read everything.
Probably, yes. Yeah. Well, and then you have the employees who just want to see. If you're someone who works on animation, the head of animation followed me on Twitter, and I think shared it. And it's just like, he's probably just curious, right? What are people thinking of the game that he helped build?
Well, exactly. With all the bad press and hate they've had, it must be terrible working there. You've put your heart and your soul into a game for the past amount of years, and all you're getting is crap for it.
Yes.
And stupid death threats and stuff like that. Yeah. It's nice to see people praising work as well.
Yeah. And that's one of I think we all agree that's one of the things that really kind of gets on me sometimes, is going back to what I said about people not having a good understanding of how the challenges of how these things get made, and the projects. It's perfectly fine to criticize and to call out issues, right? But people just take it way too far. There's a way to criticize in a valid or kind of polite or respectful way, and people just take it too far.
Yeah, that they do. It's just sad part of life, and people want to grow up. But well, I tell you one thing I want to do, in my opinion, is round a couple of these people up that send death threats and give them some charges and put it online saying this is what will happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if they want to find you, they will find you. No matter what name you hide behind, they want to find you. They will.
Yes,
the authorities can.
I think sadly we're just behind in kind of online regulation, right? I think at some point we'll hopefully get there, but it does. That's part of the era nowadays that kind of drives me crazy. It's just the people that hide behind an online persona,
Yeah, exactly. I see what you mean. It's quite nasty people out there as well. But yeah, obviously you give your writers a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
Is it like? Do they come to you, or is it just you, or is there like a couple you make decisions and say, I want to write an opinion piece on this or this, or can I? Is it, or just you can do anything? Or
it's close to you can do anything. Now that's qualified a little, right? Obviously I don't let just anyone write for the site. So we do have kind of an application process. And because the site is non-monetized, right? I obviously am not going out there and financially hiring people. So it's a passion thing. So people usually ask if they can join the site, and I kind of, review their prior work, review what they've done, how they behave online. I mean, I'm pretty guarded about Seasoned Gaming as a brand and company. And because of that, I've been very fortunate. In fact, we have our own private chat, obviously, for the Seasoned Gaming crew. And, I was just telling them last week that it almost chokes me up a little bit, in the sense of I'm very fortunate that this group of people that we've kind of come together, it's amazing, really, because they're all fantastic people. We talk every day. And it's just, it's amazing to me. And obviously some people write more than others. And that's kind of part of the thing too, is there's no requirement how much you write. If you want to write 2 articles a week, great. If you want to write 1 every 6 months, that's fine. But no, I have, Faz, who's in the chat. She's done some opinion articles, some semi-controversial ones. Elu, who, he's written a lot of ones. Steve's written a lot of ones. And they just kind of come to me and say, hey, I've got this idea for an article. And I say, okay, cool. It's fine. I help edit it, make sure it's ready for publishing, and looks in the format and grammar's good. But other than that, no, it's up to them.
Oh no, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, good to hear the process you go through. Obviously, you have to vet, certain people. You don't want your brand to be damaged or associated with toxicity, because
exactly.
Twitter is a very good place to network. It's how I made most of my contacts, Twitter.
Me too.
Yep. But there's obviously that negative side as well.
Yes.
But I find more positive than negative. You can mute certain accounts, so you know what I mean. Does not see it. You can.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of half famous, not as famous as Wilmy per se, but I do mute a lot of people. If I see anyone just talking trash or starting nonsense, I just mute them. I don't need it. But to your point, I do find a lot of positive in it. I've met so many people, including the contributors, and I've met Dan, who is my co-host on Bitcast now, and he lives, I don't know if you knew this, but he lives locally.
Really?
So he lives like 15 minutes away, and we met on Twitter.
That's good.
Which is kind of funny, you don't expect to see that, especially in the US. I mean, people all over the place.
It's a vast country compared to
here in England.
It'd be a little bit easy in England to meet up.
Yeah.
You can drive to the other end, and you know what I mean. You could do it the same day. Not in
Yes.
America.
Yes. So all my family's English. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, all my family's in England. I'm
fair
first
enough.
generation American, and I joke with these guys all the time that I wish I could even fake the accent, but I can't. So all my cousins, aunts, uncles are all in England, and so yeah, I joke with them all the time. You know, like if I take a road trip to somewhere, I'm like, yeah, I gotta go over to Colorado. It's maybe 12 hours, and they just laugh, like 12 hours of driving. It's kind of funny to them.
Yeah, no, you don't. You can do 12. You can do that, but you might end up at the other end of the country. It's so little. We're like on the map. We're like a dot compared to America.
Yeah,
but it's good to hear you got some British family over here.
Oh yeah, big upbringing. But
have you ever been over here to visit them or?
Many times.
You have
many times. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was last over in 2019. I was over in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've come over many times. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Good to hear. Welcome, Marion the Mad. How you doing?
Marion, what's up, man?
Apparently, Indie Game was asking, isn't Ainsley a Scottish name?
My name's been kind of become a funny joke over here because when I was growing up, especially, there's nobody named Ainsley. Nobody. I've only met one in my whole life, and it was a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the funniest thing that came up recently is a few years ago now. Ainsley started showing up on popular babies' names in the U.S., but for girls.
Okay.
So I don't really know. I know my mom got the name from this is a weird story. I'm not sure if I've ever told this on a show. But I know she got the name from a brand of China. She's like a China collector.
Okay,
and there's a brand of China called Ainsley China. And that's where she pulled it from. Just changed the spelling.
You want your name to be unique, obviously.
Yeah. And as a kid, in some rough schools, it didn't help me much, But as I've gotten older, I appreciate it more now. It doesn't, I like it now, but when I was a kid, it was kind of rough at times.
Well, no, yeah, I can imagine. So, how did you first come up with the Bitcast podcast? As I know, I've gone back and its first show, it was 28th of May, 2017. Well, that's what it says on the podcast feed. Whether you've done it on that date is another matter. So you're quite a veteran in the field. You've been going quite a long time. You have.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow, that's cool. So when I started Season Gaming, got to about 2016 was kind of the first full year.
Okay.
But that was very small. That was me just getting my feet wet. And then 2017 and, started to grow a little bit and get a handle. It developed into more of a full site at that point.
Okay.
And, at the time I brought my friend Bird on. So if you watch any of the older Bitcasts or any of our videos on YouTube, Bert's a big part of that. So him and I basically did most of the work there, and we just sitting down one night and, him and I would kind of party chat almost every night or every other night and just talk about games and play games. And I was like, there's gaming podcasts out there. What do you think about doing that? And we just kind of agreed that would be kind of a fun thing to try and do, the two of us. And so we put it together one day and we attempted it, and we got kind of cheap microphones and cameras, and we filmed our first episode. And I was just joking, I think yesterday, that there's a Bitcast 0, episode 0, that is not published. Yeah, it's hidden. It's on our channel, but you can't see it. One day maybe I'll unpublish it because it's hilarious. It's very comical. Just because, while I had experience in writing and site creation, all these other things, I'd never been on videos before. Not outside of my career, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
So when you watch it now, it's very funny just because I'm almost like a robot. There's no personality. It's almost like I'm reading a ransom note of the gaming news. So we kind of tuned it up a little bit, went with episode 1, which again, our first several episodes are kind of the same way, or many of them. It's just very robotic, but that's essentially how it started. And then I want to say it was episode like 28, 29, several months later, where I had gotten to know Dan online, and we invited him on as a guest, and he guested with us, and we had a good time, and eventually just asked him to become a permanent part of the show. So I think, half of maybe 2018, most of 2019, it was the three of us that would do the show every week with guests. Okay. And then Bert had end of 2019, Bert had some stuff going on in his personal life, some other things that came up, and he came to me just the end of 2019 and just said he can't do it anymore, can't do the show, can't really help out with Season Gaming anymore. And so at that point, I kind of, beginning of last year, had a rethink. So Dan and I just kind of moved forward with a new format. Okay. And that's when we started going live too. We only started going live just, early last year.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. I wanted to ask you, obviously, your podcast has been around a while now. Obviously, you're live on YouTube, but is that drastically different? Because obviously you record your podcast, but now it's live.
Yeah.
So obviously, did you used to edit the podcast or just record, bang, upload it? Was it not a process, or how does that differ to YouTube? I imagine that's very different.
Yeah. It depends. There's, when you're not live, you do have the opportunity to, say, take breaks, or if you mess up, or if you kind of get on a ramble that you don't want to publish, you can fix all that, right? Before you publish. So that's kind of what we used to do, is a little more trimmed, and a little more focused on just news and reviews at the time. So we would kind of take that recorded video off our home computer here, edit it, add the intro, etc., and then put it out on YouTube. Going live's been really interesting. I didn't know what to expect, but I've got to say I've really enjoyed it. In fact, now that we've been live for a while, I couldn't see going back to not being live. And I think that's just because, we have audience that joins us every week. And like, this past weekend, we had some new people that came out, and it's just fun, right? Because it's more of a broader chat with a bigger community, and you can kind of share some of the thoughts from chat, while it makes them feel like they're kind of part of the show rather than just listening afterwards. So we do still have a big audience that listens to us audio only. So, we publish the podcast on podcast services and whatnot. So that's still a big kind of avenue for listens for us. But the live part of the show on YouTube is a lot of fun.
That's good to hear. I mean, obviously, this show does go onto podcast networks. I need to update. I haven't done I've got to upload a few of them now. But is it the same kind of process with you versus YouTube, but with the podcast, on getting people to actually listen to your podcast? Is there like SEO involved, or some trick you've got to do to get people to listen? Because I tell you what, I don't get many people at all.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. I mean, when we were starting out, we'd put our YouTube video up, get 10 views, and then our listens would be like 4, and we're like, oh man, and half of those were us, right? It is tough. It's a completely different thing. I think with podcast services, it's a combination of people that click on it and at least start to listen to it, combined with subscribers, people who, if you're on iTunes or you're on Amazon or, wherever, Spotify, people who subscribe to it. And then reviews actually help too. So if you get people to review your podcast on those services, that kind of helps their internal SEO on showing that. So make sure it's categorized properly, right? Okay. So that if they have, you need to make sure the show is categorized as gaming or entertainment. Yeah. And then when people search for those things, it'll pull in reviews, clicks, all those things.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. No, I will try and make them a lot better, or do something there, because not many people actually listen to them. You can listen to them, and people didn't know You can listen to these shows on all platforms. I'm not very good at advertising it. I'm not. I need to do some work on that. I do.
It's hard, man. It's hard. And the sad thing is, one of the hardest parts, as you well know about this kind of stuff, is one, nowadays there's so many people doing it, right? There's a lot of people that are very well known in the gaming community that have been doing it for several years or were there at the beginning. And so they've just naturally kind of gained that audience. They were there first. And then, when you get into it now, there's so many, it's just really hard to kind of break through that wall. And it's tough. I wrote about that recently, just some of the challenges of running a site for the same reasons. But it can be frustrating. I've definitely been there. But over the years, it's slowly ticked up, and and it started to put a smile on my face when we first passed, say, like 50 listens on a week, and then you hit 100 listens, and it's like, oh man, another milestone, and over the past couple of years, it's just grown and grown and grown, and now we get thousands, which is nice.
Thousands on the podcast downloads.
Yeah.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thanks. I'd
love to hit above 100.
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of it, right? So all I could say is, keep plugging away. Make sure you're advertising it, and like I said, categorization, and just having people help out, right? Sharing it, reviewing it, any of that stuff helps for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to work on that bit. Well, yeah, thanks for them tips. I'm sure that can help other people out there that do podcasts. I mean, to do a YouTube wise, my shows, although I've got 310 subs, I'm very proud of it. I actually get a lot of people, like you get your watch time, minutes and hours and all that.
Yes,
I do very well for actually off my shows.
That's good.
I'm actually nearly halfway towards what they call the monetization.
Okay,
just not the subscribers.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I do it for fun. I don't want to become the next big YouTuber. I do it for fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think people enjoy, especially the Stubzcast. I think people enjoy the stories and listening to people like yourselves come on the show. It's kind of why I do it, because I enjoy it more than anything, and the community seem to enjoy it as well.
Exactly.
Quite a lot of the people that come in here enjoy it. That's what it is. But building community, as you know, you get your regulars week in, week out, and some people don't make it every week, but a lot of people listen. Yeah. You don't have to be there all the time live.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the power of YouTube. That is.
But I think that's good, right? Like, my opinion has always been, as long as you have a passion for it and are honest about it. I think again, just my opinion, but I think as soon as your focus becomes the clicks or the views, or what can I do to just grow? What do I have to do to grow while changing what you're doing? I think that starts to spoil it. I think you can still grow it. Like I said, it's a fine line and it's tough, but I think you can still grow while having a passion and honesty about your content. And, that's what I like about some of the smaller creators out there right now versus, I don't want to name names, but we all know those accounts out there that are just stirring up stuff every day, right? Trying to grow out of controversy. And in my opinion, that's the wrong way to go about it.
Oh, it is. I mean, I can be slightly, as people know, I can be slightly controversial on Twitter, but I don't go to the lines of trying to piss off Xbox and PlayStation fanboys. I did make a tweet the other day that got serious traction though. It was just a joke tweet. It was like, delete one. It was Gears franchise or Halo franchise, and man, it heated up. Over 15,000 interactions and 1,000 actual engagement. It was massive. You know what I mean? I didn't realise the traction it was going to get.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that happens sometimes.
I haven't counted it. It wasn't a poll, but I swear I see more Gears than there was Halo. But I lost count because I couldn't keep up with it. What people were putting. But there was enough Halo there too.
That's good.
I like to have a bit of fun on Twitter.
Yeah, it can be fun. I think I've made jokes as well, both about some things Xbox has done and PlayStation has done, and you can tell when people are doing it out of fun, actual fun, not kind of backhanded fun. Do you know what I mean? So it's funny. I just saw Dragon Wolf said I just became the 5,000 follower for Season Gaming on Twitter. Yeah, it's funny. We hit 5,000 and then we went above it and then we went below it and we've been kind of teetering there. So that's awesome, Dragon Wolf. Thank you very much.
You're doing well there. That's good numbers they are. Yeah. Do you know what you've done to get to that level yet, or do you know?
So on the Season Gaming account, it's been some of the big articles that have become popular for us, some of the reviews, some of the stuff. So, one of the things I do once in a while, I kind of got my reputation originally on Twitter because I came kind of onto the scene and I wrote some very in-depth, kind of extensive Xbox articles. Because Xbox has always been a passion for me. I loved kind of the brand and that underdog mentality. Yeah. And so, I wrote articles around their future and what their moves in the business world mean, what Game Pass is to the business, what the Azure infrastructure means, kind of stuff that I tried to talk deeply about things that I'm knowledgeable about, but that you don't see from a lot of the mainstream sites.
She could.
Yeah, and so I had a couple of those that just kind of hit it big, like Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg and all those guys just commenting or sharing it.
That is good, yeah.
And that helped me kind of not blow up by any means, but that helped me really kind of gain a reputation pretty early on, which was nice. And then it's just been a kind of almost like a small rock rolling downhill since then. It's been slow but steady. And so Season Gaming has done well and my account's done well. And it's just, it's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Phasma just made a comment. Season Gaming has integrity. That's why I appreciate and support them. I'm proud to be a contributor.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. And Faz is one of those I was saying that, met on Twitter and we met through GBTB, actually, Wilmie's show.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. Dan and I were a guest on there one week, and that was back when Faz was on that show, and we met and just started talking. And I met Leo and Bomber and and Wilmy was on our show, and Bomber's been on, and yeah, it's just it's that, right? That's that networking you were talking about. It's just meeting people, and kind of picking out the good ones, and talking to them more. So yeah, I've just made a lot of friends that way. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear. I mean, I know I'm friends of they do a weekly podcast, and they only get about 2 to 5 views on their podcast. And they said to me, "What do you do to get all your guests?" I said, "What do you mean?" Seem to know everybody in the Xbox side of the field. I says, "Well, it didn't happen overnight. I turn up to people's podcasting chats, network DM to and fro." I says it's taken me quite a while to gain." A kind of foothold, not a foothold, gain relationships within the community and friends. It says, it's not like, it says, that's how I know them. Oh, right. I says, to be honest, most podcasters will come on your channel because podcasters love to talk, so you can reach out to them and build relationships. And over time, you'll get to the point where you just know everyone nearly,
Yeah.
That's how it works. Just networking. That's all.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, that's how I met Marion and how I met Indy and all these guys. It's just exactly that. Just being on different shows and talking and them coming by, and it's a lot of fun, man. I love it. It's I've met so many good people, just so many. So it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear.
That's how you and I met, right? I mean,
exactly.
Same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Welcome, Telegonic. Thanks for stopping by. So I've covered all the questions for tonight. But do you have any voice or words of inspiration for future writers or podcasters or content creators out there?
Yeah, some of the things I've touched on. I would say that pick what you're passionate about. The one of the pieces of advice. So I'm a big fan of the guys from RKG. I don't know if you know them.
No, not heard of them.
Okay, so RKG are they're pretty big now, but they were 3 guys who worked at IGN UK. They made a Let's Play series, and it became so kind of famous and developed such a big community. They left and started their own company called RKG.
Oh, fair enough.
One's from Wales, one's from England, and one's from Ireland/America. And
That sounds like a joke, doesn't it? No, you don't
yeah, I know, and they are very funny, but they're
yeah.
great guys. One of the things that Daniel on that show once said is, focus on what your passion is, not on what you think other people's passions are. And what he was really saying is that I see a lot of new people look at big channels, that have a lot of subscribers, or podcasts that have a lot of viewers, and they say, okay, that's what they did, let's model after that. And in my opinion, that's the wrong way to go about it. You need to speak to what your knowledge is, what your passion is, because that's when it's going to actually come out. You know what I mean? If you try to look at another topic and say, a lot of people seem to like this, let me talk about it, it's insincere, and it's not going to be as it's going to be disingenuous. And so one of the things I've really learned over the past few years is, we focus on what we know, what we're passionate about. And it's developed such a nice community around us that I'm just thankful for all the time. I mean, I probably say it too much about how thankful I am for the community and the people that have joined us and everything. But that's what I would say. The other thing is, stick with it. I think you and I have both said it a few times tonight, is that it's very hard to grow, whether you're into streaming, podcasting, right? Creating a site or channel or blog or what have you. There's a lot of it out there. And it's very hard and difficult and challenging to organically grow, but it takes a lot of work. It doesn't come easy. So that's why I pick a passion, because you're going to have to put the time in. You're going to have to put the work in, network, talk to people. And if you're trying to do that for something you don't really care about, it's never going to work.
Mate, I fully agree with you on that. It's like me with podcasting. Right? It took me a year to actually do. A big one here is procrastination. I was going to start a podcast it took me over a year to start it. This show we're on about now, Stubzcast. Because I never did it, and in the end, I just done it. That's the biggest problem that holds people back, is procrastination.
Yes.
So if you do it, just do it.
You gotta have your heart in it. Go all in if you're going to do it.
That was one question that I was meant to ask you.
Okay.
Obviously, with you being a recorded podcast, you don't think you were actually nervous when you went live? And obviously you go on camera. I'm not as brave as you yet. Were you nervous at all about it?
Not when we went live. No, I was actually more nervous, when we first started podcasting.
Okay. All right.
Because we were on video anyway. We've always been a video podcast. Yeah. But it was just the fact that I know what I know about gaming. But my thought has always been, why would anyone else care? And so when we first started putting it out there, it was like, okay, one, you never like listening to your own voice. At least I don't.
Oh no, yeah. Now a lot of people don't realize I make video. I very rarely make videos, and I can make them. But the biggest problem I have is when you have to sit there and listen to your voice back. I hate it. I think I sound like a dickhead. Sorry to swear, but I do. But no one else thinks that, but I do. It's weird. It puts me off making videos a lot of the time.
It is, yeah. Especially if I make other videos, right? Like statue unboxings and other stuff. And when I have to sit down and edit them, and I see myself on camera and standing there and speaking, I'm like, God, what a tool. You know what I mean? It kind of turns you off. But I would say, going back to your original question, that's when I was most nervous, because I was thinking to myself, people are seeing this, listening, what do they think? And I've just gotten to the point now, not only just with content creation, but in my life, where I am it's a relieving thing when you get to the point in your life where you truly, not just say it, but when you truly, truly don't care what anyone thinks about you. because I just truly don't. I know who I am. I try to be the best person I can be. I know who my friends are. I know my career. I know my family, you know, and so now I'm at the point where I'm very kind of just free on camera, and I'm willing to talk about whatever. If someone doesn't like it, it doesn't bother me. You know, so maybe that's another piece of advice, you know, in the passion and the heart that you have for whatever you're going to create, be yourself. Be whatever you are, be true to yourself. And, you know, you'll find the people that consume that content are people that you want to associate with.
Yeah, no, very, very good words of advice. I mean, it's true, because it's like you say about people going and copy other channels. Now, obviously, there's elements of our community that are one-sided. I mean, there is channels that go full toxic, yeah.
Yes.
But what I've noticed, I look at YouTube a lot. Now, there's different echelons in YouTubers. There's a big echelon. If you go full toxic, yeah, and on for a certain brand, you will never ever become into the you know that you got the hundreds of thousands, haven't you? But you know one where you go to the millions, you'll never ever reach that level. I've noticed a lot of them go full toxic and stay at about 10,000.
They hit a wall,
and they can't get no higher, because they're if you can go for a certain brand, but as long as you don't do it in a toxic way, you know what I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of them try and copy people, and they fall into circles and try and be more positive. You know, obviously, if you're on a podcast, you've got to be like my podcast. I cover all angles of a subject, whether I think I will say a negative on a subject, even if it means having a negative about Xbox. But it's only because it's called constructive feedback.
Exactly.
That's all it is. And it's an opinion. It doesn't mean it's true, you know.
Yeah. But you're right. I think, you know, we all know those channels, right? That do that, or sites that do that. And they hit a wall at some point. And, you know, there are always going to be a percentage of people that gravitate towards that type of content for whatever reason, you know. But like you said, you're not only going to hit a wall, but you're not producing something of worth. You know, I think it's going to be very fun for me, and, you know, anyone else who does this kind of stuff, you know, for 10, 15, 20 years, when I'm an old dude with my cane, still gaming, looking back on, you know, our first Bitcast, you know, and just having a laugh, you know, just being like, look at this guy, you know. But I think that when I look back on the articles that we've posted and the videos we've done and the interactions I've had at E3 and shows and stuff, it makes me smile, because I know it was done in what I consider the right way. You know, it was done with kind of respect for the industry and for creators and developers. And, you know, with an understanding of what gaming means to people. And it just means a lot to me. And I just wish a bigger percentage. There's plenty out there that do a fantastic job, but I just wish, you know, we didn't have to deal with the ones who don't kind of get it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I fully agree with you, you know. But yeah, it's been a good show tonight, Ainsley. Thanks for coming on and giving me some of your time you out of your evening. I really appreciate it. And the chat seems to have really enjoyed the show tonight. They have.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you, man. It's always a pleasure. Anytime, I appreciate the invite. And I love talking games, man. I could literally talk video games as my career if I was allowed to. You know, it's just it's a joy for me. And I always find something to reflect on with these conversations. So it's been a lot of fun. And thanks for everyone for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Can you tell everyone where they can find you if they haven't heard of you, maybe on the podcast download? Leave a review, please.
yes, for both of us, for that matter.
Yes.
So seasongaming.com. I mean, all of the information is there. If you click through the menus and pages and whatnot, you know, we do daily news. So it's a typical kind of gaming news site. Like I said, you won't find all the nonsense. You'll find actual updates on games or development or everything. We do articles as well, ranging from tech analysis articles, you know, like if you want to understand the true and I say true because there's so much speculation, like hardware differences between the PS5 and Series X. We have articles on that, all the way to opinion articles. Like Faz, who was in, she wrote an article recently on the controversy surrounding Last of Us 2 because of the story and other things. So you can find stuff like that as well, and game reviews and everything, really. So the podcast, as you said, is a Bitcast. So that's every Saturday at noon Central US time. So whatever that is for you. We are live, but then it's, of course, on our channel, our YouTube channel, which again is just Season Gaming, and podcast services. So whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, we're on all the big ones. So you can find us there, Season Gaming Bitcast. And then I'm just Porsche Power. So that's what my Twitter handle is Porsche Power, but that's what I am everywhere. I've had that handle online for nearly 20 years now. So that's why I'm Porsche Power on Twitter and Xbox and PlayStation, and you can find me everywhere under that.
No, fair enough. Thanks for letting everyone know your info. Hopefully you get some more subscribers, and I have actually put all your details in the YouTube link. I will do it on the podcast feed. I do a hyperlinks because you can click through hyperlinks, can't you?
Yeah.
Many people don't realise you can do that in podcast descriptions, but you can. I've learned that bit. Just got to learn a bit more. So, anyway, thanks for coming on, Ainsley. I really appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by, everyone in the live chat. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. See you later, guys.
Bye.